Hi, I'm Craig Conway and welcome to the Rovers Chat, the home of everything Blackburn Rovers.
Good afternoon, Rovers fans, and as you can see, I've been battling with Jackie Weaver to get access to this stream, but we got there in the end, so apologies that we are 10 minutes late. Definite gremlins on my internet connection today, so we are here now. We're finally here. Tom is absolutely crapping himself there as he's left this Jackie Weaver share screen loaded on our live stream, but hey-ho, it's all in good jest. Whilst Tom sorts himself out and hopefully does not eject himself from this stream like it kept doing to me, I'll say hello to Ollie and to Aled. Aled on his iPad at the bottom. How are you doing, Aled?
I'm good, Ryan. Very good, actually. I was thinking of maybe kicking you out of the live stream group with the technical issues, but I'm glad that we've got them all sorted, and I think I'll give you a bit of a reprieve for now.
Thank you, Aled. And Ollie, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, very good. Just making sure I've read and understood the minutes pre-live stream, so I'm ready to go.
Standing order, I think, is what you'll find they are called, Ollie. The standing order. And Tom, have you sorted yourself out now with these technicalities?
Yeah, I clearly hadn't read the standing order and I hadn't understood it, so that's on me. Literally, Dan just messaged me there, the third one along, and he was right. I was like, what do you mean? I was looking at the side and I thought, oh, yeah, that third one along. So I apologize for that, but, you know, it's all good fun. It's the world of streaming, I guess, isn't it?
It is. So, Rovers fans in the comments, there's plenty of you in there. As I say, thank you for your patience whilst we got this stream up and running. As you can see, bit of a shaky start this morning, but we will cope like a solid centre-back pairing of Branthwaite and Lenihan. We will steam through this one. If you're not following us on Twitter, we are rovers_chat on Twitter. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it is Rovers Chat on YouTube. But before we make a start on today's pre-match stream, we are sponsored by 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Tom's facial expressions are fantastic today because we've been shoved into the background technicals at the very last minute because my internet connection seems to not want to do the streaming today. So, Tom, I'm very grateful for you to step in.
No, it's fine. I've done it before. Just this morning, my mind's blank for every reason. You were there, like, I was like, oh, yeah, that's me. I am really sorry, Dan, wherever you are, wherever you're listening. I understand if you fire me.
Rovers fans watching it might be slightly less polished today, but we'll do it as ever with a smile. So, Tom, I'll come to you first if I can then. Just the first order of business on the standing order today. We're through the January transfer window now, and it was a pretty successful final day as well with Harwood Bellis and Harry Pickering signing, which felt like really good signings. The squad's got loads of players coming back from injury now as well. So how are you feeling going into the latter part of the season and where Rovers might go?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident, to be fair. I think the recruitment's been really good. It's no longer, as we've said in the chats we've had privately, that there's a recruitment thing in play now. It's not a case of he played well against me. We're shaping it well. Pickering seems to be a really good addition, highly rated, and obviously you've got people waxing lyrical about Harwood Bellis, and Branthwaite's been superb when he's been playing for us. So really confident, really happy with the shape of the team, and I'm hoping for a strong second half to the season.
Yeah, and Ollie, are you sharing that optimism about the season? At times, you know, particularly in defence, we've really struggled to get a settled back four. And Kaminski's obviously missed a couple of games as well. But I'm starting to feel quite optimistic and quite confident about games now, because it seems to me like this squad depth that we were all excited about before the start of the season is now starting to come to fore.
Yeah, I think maybe if you'd asked me maybe a month ago when we were in like bad form, well, back into December when we were not in a very good run, that I was worried that this season might just be remembered for another kind of what if, and if we didn't have all those injuries, what could have happened. And what's nice is we've got through January unbeaten, and we've actually got a very fit and healthy squad compared with, if you look at how we started the season and the losing Travis and losing defenders and the injuries we've had to contend with. But not to say that there's no excuses. I'm always very positive. But yeah, we've got, having looked at our back four and worried about cover for fullbacks and cover for centre backs, we've now got a settled back five that's started keeping some clean sheets, and now we've got competition and options and cover right across the back four, which is really pleasing. And let alone got all the players we pretty much want fit to play in midfield, and same in attack. So really looking forward to today, and hopefully good things to come.
And Vice Chair Allard, you have read the standing order, I can tell. So how are you feeling about the rest of the season? Because I think, you do offer an air of realism on our streams about Rovers, and, maybe not as happy clappy as I can be at times. So how are you feeling about the end of the season?
I would say, sitting here now in 8th position, I think it's possibly the best shot we've ever had of getting in the top 6 since our relegation. Certainly from League One, but I would say the Premier League back in 2012. So you look at the squad and you look at where Rovers have gone wrong in the past, and they've mainly gone wrong in the past by maybe not being a bit, not quite ambitious enough in January. And I think the key example of that would be the first season back, where we didn't recruit a defender in January, and then we went on that awful run after Darrell Lennon got injured in that fateful game at Griffin Park, and we never really recovered. So I think the club has made sense of the mistakes it's made in the past, and I hope that we can go forward and improve results as such. So yeah, I'm quietly optimistic about the second half of the season. I think you look at the clubs in the top 6 at the minute, I think they do have good squads, they do have good players, so I think it's certainly going to be a tough ask to get in there. But I think if you look at most of the teams in the division, I'd say Rovers are one of the best equipped sides to do it if one of the other teams was to break in there. So yeah, you look at the season, there's 20 games to go and 60 points to play for, and we're only 3 points outside of it. So it's certainly game on. And, you look at some of the defenders that he's signed, and, the fast, agile defenders that kind of suit the style of play. So I'm sure, Ryan, you'd say something like as agile as like a Robin or a Blue Tit or something like that. But in all seriousness, it bodes well that the manager has a plan in terms of, recruiting players to fit the style of play. And then also when you add into that the Pickering signing, as Tom said, looking ahead to next season and thinking about what we're going to do next season, contract situation. So I think it's really a good sign that the club's planning ahead. And I think when you put all that together, I think there are reasons to be cheerful. And can you believe that's coming from me?
No, it's good. It's very good, Alex. And Rovers fans watching in, let us know how you're feeling about the season. We've been here before, haven't we? I think back to that game against Brentford when we went 2-0 up, and then, the rest is history and all of that. So there's echoes to where Rovers have been before. We've dragged ourselves back into the playoff contention, and I think we have got a squad which is looking a lot fuller. We've got some good options and signed some good players as well. And I'm feeling quite optimistic, and can get that back five, with Kaminski in there settled. Then there's no reason why we can't really push for that top 6. But let us know what you think in Rovers fans in the comments, and we'll pick them up in a moment. I'm laughing my head off at Joe, who couldn't be with us today in the comments. It's a joke. I'm the vice chair, Ryan. I'm here now. I take control. So Joe, I'd love to have you on the stream with us today, but Joe's been doing his badges today. So as we usually do on the pre-match stream, we do like to focus on a player. And Tom, you can bring up a graphic for us of the man that we're going to talk about today, which is Adam Armstrong. I don't really think we've given him too much of an airing on the pre-match streams because other players like Davenport and whatever have come from nowhere. But Armstrong has made a huge impact for Rovers this season. I think the goals, he's actually second, sadly, in the championship now because Ivan Toney got a hat-trick last week, so he's on 20. So he is second in the goals. But, Tom, let's just look at that. He started the season like a house on fire, didn't he? He got the hat-trick against Wycombe and was really in the goals. But his recent form, probably not up to the standards and the levels that he set himself, actually, at the start of the season. But as the goal against Luton proved, right place at the right time, gets the 3 points. These stats speak for themselves, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. And you see he's got 17 goals. That's no mean feat at this stage of the season. I think even though he set himself those high standards, it probably was a tad unrealistic to expect him to continue that run of form. Every single game he looked like he'd probably score a hat-trick, and probably he should have had more than one hat-trick this season, if we're being brutally honest. And it was unrealistic to expect him to keep up that level of form, but still, he's scoring goals. He got an important one against Luton. He always looks like he's got a goal in him as well, which is positive. I think as Rovers fans, we've been pretty blessed with good strikers over the years that find the back of the net on a regular basis for us. You look back to Jordan Rhodes and Rudy Gestede recently, and even further back, you've got obviously the Messiah, Alan Shearer. So Armstrong's just another person in the long line of them, and I'm confident that he remains a threat and will be a threat for the remainder of the season, and hopefully a massive one today and can put QPR to the sword.
Yeah, and Ollie, these stats really speak for themselves, don't they? I mean, the number of shots he's had is quite incredible, and I think that Bristol City game, what was it, something daft like 8-9 shots that he had away, and things like the offsides per game, championship first rank for that one, and then shots per game, we're really seeing an illustration of the type of striker that Armour is. If he can have a shot, he's going to have a shot, and he really plays on that shoulder and frustratingly does seem to be offside quite regularly. But, he has had that little dip recently. He's not been in the goals as much, but this is a guy that remains absolutely integral to any hope of a top 6 push, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've fortunately come through January on the right side of a few tight games. But I don't think it's a coincidence that when we've kind of lost some key personnel and we haven't been quite playing at our fluid best in the system we're using, that his goals have dried up a little bit. He has still been getting goals, but not like he was through the earlier part of the season. And I think that's why, I'm sure we'll go on to the lineups, but I think he needs, for the system to work at its best, I think we've talked about, you need players like Brereton and Elliott, and we need to sort of have possession of the ball higher up in the final third. And I think that's when he's going to score a lot more freely, as we saw earlier in the season. And I think games like that Bristol City game, and I think games more recently where I think he's almost been snatching at things and sort of too desperate to score because we've not been playing that well, and the attacking side of our game hasn't been as fluid as it can be. And so I think when he gets those moments and the ball, the odd moments he is getting the ball, he's been perhaps trying to do too much, but he's still getting his shots away. And I think the Luton game showed that even late on in the game, he'll be in the right place at the right time and has still got that killer instinct. It's just about getting the right service to him and players around him, so you can get the ball down at his feet. That's what he needs. He needs the ball at his feet in the final third, and that's when he's going to do a lot of damage. And you look back, things like the Middlesbrough game. I know we won, but that first half when he ends up looking a little bit isolated because the systems kind of breaks down a little bit. And when you've got a striker that could easily be well over 20 goals already for the season, I think he'd probably say that himself, that probably the only reason he isn't is perhaps some slightly wayward finishing earlier in the season, but equally we've probably not been getting the ball to him enough in recent games. And if we now, with a fully fit squad, if we can get those performance levels back, I think, you know, we know what he can do. Like, he's devastating in the box, he's devastating outside the box, one-on-one, or running off the shoulder through on goal. That's where we just need to get the ball to him, I think, and let him do what he does.
Yeah, and Alex, I'm just going to dip into the comments before coming to you. So just a couple of comments here. One from Michael Pearson. Armstrong's selfishness is a great quality to have. The more shots, the better. You know, absolutely. The top strikers are selfish, you know, and just look at the way that Cristiano Ronaldo throws his toys out the pram. You know, that you don't get to the top level without having that selfish streak. And then if we look at Stephen Mason's comment, he's made a few goals, though, in recent games. So, Alex, with Bradley Dack returning and as he gets up to full fitness, you know, you'd expect Bradley Dack to have more of a contribution to this side and maybe take some of the pressure off Armour. Could you see the reliance on Armstrong from a Rovers perspective maybe decreasing a little bit and maybe Armour becoming a bit more of a chance creator for others or linking up with Dack in a different way? How do you see that evolving as Dack's influence on the side grows as he comes back from injury?
I think this is a real conundrum because it depends on the system that Mowbray is looking to play. If he continues playing the 4-3-3 that we all know about and that we've said many, many times on these streams that it's a positive change and compared to the previous system that we've played under Mowbray, if he continues playing in that vein and Dack continues playing in the midfield at least, then I can't really see Dack hitting the number of goals that he has in past seasons just due to his position on the pitch. I think he's certainly putting the onus on Dack to be the creator rather than the goal scorer in that situation. And then if that was the case, then I think it would definitely be true that Armstrong would still be, without doubt, the main source of goals. I think the one concern I have around Armstrong is that, you know, going forward is how can we rely on him to still be here next season? That's deep down what I'm concerned about at the minute because, you know, I think as we said on the deadline day stream, I think with a lot of the other players in the squad, they often took pay rises to come here and we've got a lot of room salary-wise to, you know, move on with them in terms of contracts and contract renewals. Whereas I think with Armstrong, the case was that he took a pay cut to come here. And so we're kind of maxed out on having Armstrong here right now. And therefore, I believe that if he does continue in this vein, and let's just throw a number out in the air, let's say he scores 25 goals by the end of this season, which doesn't seem to me to be particularly unreasonable. 8 goals in 20 games isn't unreasonable whatsoever. If he could do that, then, you know, we're going to be fielding bids of, you know, massive bids, you know, of like 10 million quid, stuff like that. So it'll be difficult to keep him really. And we need to think about what our plan is to maybe replace him in the summer and maybe an alternative plan of how we can maybe cope without him in this coming 20 games, because I don't think a club in our position can turn down the money we're likely to get offered for him in the summer. And I don't think a club of our size can also let his contract run down. So I think there needs to be a bit of a reckoning with that regard. And I can only really see Armstrong's influence continuing at the same level it is now, if not increasing. I think one thing I would say, and I agree with what Ollie said about him snatching at chances, I think when you're the main man and you're such the main man that no one else is even close to you in the goal charts, which is undoubtedly true with Armstrong, you feel that weight of responsibility to drive your team on. And I think there's probably a bit of a lack of trust with the other players in the sense of, if our team is to win this game, I'm the one to score the goal. And it's about having the self-confidence in your own ability and in your own stats to say, well, I am the man to win us this game. And so I can probably justify a bit of the selfishness with that there's not really been anyone else that's come up with any kind of good amount of goals so far this season. Obviously, that can all change.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Alex, on the reckoning stuff that's going to happen in the summer. I'm delighted that we've still got him. I did wonder whether a team might just test our resolve a little bit in January and put a bid in, but I think you're right. Something's going to have to happen in the summer. Either he signs a new contract before the summer, or, you know, we do just weigh up the risk and reward of either losing him for nothing or, you know, cashing in the summer for as much as we can and just looking into the comments here, you know, Callum is agreeing with what you said there, Alex. Well said, Aled, as he said. And then Ellis Dixon, 10 million, that's nothing for Armour. Absolutely, Ellis. You know, it's a running joke on this stream, you know, about me saying about the 10 million. But
you didn't get the joke, Ellis.
But as Callum points out, for a man that's got 1 year on his contract now, Adam Armstrong is absolutely in the driving seat with all of this now. He doesn't strike me as the type of guy that's going to upset the apple cart. If I was Adam Armstrong, I would just sit patiently under a manager that I know I can trust. And let's see what Rovers are going to offer me, because I know if my contract does run down and I score goals in the Championship again next season, then I'm going to command a good wage at a Premier League club or indeed a top Championship club. So for me, I think Armstrong's completely in control of this situation now, and we've just got to get the best out of him that we possibly can whilst he's our player, and hopefully we can get him tied onto a new contract. So we're going to move on then, just very briefly, just to focus on QPR just before we go on to our predicted sides before the live team news. So Tom, we've got a couple of things just to bring up. So the first is how QPR are expected to set up today, formation-wise, via Jackie Weaver. So QPR are going to be wing-backs. We previewed this yesterday on the other side. They are not attacking full-backs per se. Todd Kane will get forward a little bit. Lee Wallace is a player that they identified as a weak point for them. And then Ball and Johansson in that midfield area will really just linchpin the midfield to then allow Elias Chair to have that free role just behind Charlie Austin and Macaulay Bonne. But then the other stats that we've got, Tom, that you can bring up for us, and then I'm going to come to you as well. When I was chatting to Charlie yesterday, I was quite surprised about QPR's home form this season, actually. As I said to Charlie last night, I've always regarded Loftus Road, or the Kiyan Prince Stadium as it is now, as a hard place to go. And we obviously lost there last season as well. But out their 7 wins this season, they've only won 3 at home. And you can see where they're at in terms of the rank. 20th, points gained, just 13. That's put some 20th. And, you know, they're really quite low in terms of goals scored and points gained as well. So does that surprise you as well, Tom, to find QPR down in that position with that level of home form?
Apologies, Mark was muted. No, yeah, it is surprising. I think I was saying actually before we started, didn't I, that I was actually quite shocked to see QPR, you know, struggle a bit like they are doing. I expected them to be much higher. In my head, they were only a few points behind us, and that's not really the case, is it? I guess that gives us a bit of confidence, mind you, going into the game. But yeah, quite shocked. To see them where they are on the table. Yeah.
And Ollie, if I come to you, I think this table really does illustrate where their problems are lying, and Charlie referenced it last night as well. So possession-wise and passing accuracy-wise and shots per game-wise, they're not doing too bad. They're up in the higher echelons, but Charlie did describe that they've lacked a clinical edge this season, certainly before the Charlie Austin signing. So that's why they find themselves where they are now. Absolutely no surprise whatsoever that since the return of Charlie Austin, they are 3 wins in 4 games. So that clinical edge against that possession, passing and shots per game, we're going to have to watch Charlie Austin in particular today, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's had 4 games and 2 goals, which, you know, if he continues that record for the rest of the season for them, he's going to be very prolific. Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. We're sort of playing them at the wrong time, really. I've always thought Mark Warburton's quite a good manager, and I think he brings a style of play that's probably actually suits us to play against, because I think they're going to sort of possession based and maybe look to attack us the same way we want to attack them. But we do need to be really careful. They've just beaten Watford away from home, which something we weren't able to do, and that's, you know, they came from behind and have beaten a team relegated from the Premier League. So, and Austin scored. So I've always thought Chair's a very good player. I know they lost 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐓 last season in the summer, who was one of an outstanding player, but the Chair's still very dangerous, and, you know, whoever is anchoring our midfield in that 3, really does need to screen the back four as best as possible. You know, if it's Lenihan and Branthwaite, they've played very well together, but if they're not afforded the right protection and, you know, Austin's given chances to get runs on them or find pockets of space in the box, you know, we do need to be careful today. You know, every game's difficult in the Championship, and I think, yeah, we shouldn't. I like Tom, I was quite surprised I hadn't really taken note of QPR that much this season, but I think I just assumed they were probably just behind us somewhere, but I hadn't realised they'd been struggling as much as they have been. So, but yeah, I played them at a bad time, but equally they're playing us, you could argue, at not a good time. So hopefully a good game, but we do need to be careful of Austin.
And Alex, if I just come to you, this is two sides actually that are 3 wins in 4 games, and QPR have clearly been boosted by the return of Charlie Austin. They've got 7 wins all season and 3 of them in the last 4 games. So this is two sides that seem to have had a confidence boost either way. What sort of approach are you expecting from QPR today? As much as they have had the recent good form, those 3 wins, I think I'm right in saying, have come away from home. So there is a little bit of a, you know, a mental block there possibly for QPR, and getting some kind of home form going. So are you expecting them to come at us a little bit today, try and ride on that confidence? Or, you know, could you see them maybe sitting back a little bit and doing what other teams have done and let Rovers have the ball and rely on us to be clinical?
I think QPR always approach the game in the same way whenever I've seen them play against us. They always seem to be one of those teams that is quite naive. They seem to try and score a lot of goals and get caught often at the other end of the pitch quite often. And I think you saw that in the first game this season in the reverse fixture, that, you know, for all of their, you know, on occasion quite good incisive passing, attacking play, that, you know, they did leave themselves a bit open, and Rovers should have really won by more than they did in the end. I know they sealed a 2-goal margin in late injury time, but I thought we deserved that from that game. I thought we were the clear winners in that, really. And what I expect from QPR today is much the same as what we've seen in every other game that we've played against them. I don't think they're particularly a boggy side for Rovers. I think it's a ground that historically we've, you know, it's not been a barren ground for us. I do remember us winning there and getting good draws there when they were, you know, higher up in the division. So yes, certainly I'm not going into this game, you know, worried about QPR in the sense of, you know, they'll run right over the top of us and, you know, beat us 3 or 4-0. They probably will now have said that, but that's not something I'm afraid of. I think, how do I think they'll approach the game? I think they'll approach the game looking at the formation that the QPR fan, you know, put across on the other side, that it makes me think that they might try and go a bit more counter-attacking on us. But I think if they do that, and that's borne out in the game, and then Rovers' job is to do what we have done away from home on occasion, which is to, you know, break with pace and break with accuracy. And I think when we've done that, we've been very, very good. And, you know, the Derby game, for example, we won 4-0. The Borough game, we got the goal from a breakaway. And then I think Birmingham, to an extent as well, we didn't dominate the ball. It was more about brace. So I think Rovers can certainly react to whatever QPR throw at us, in the sense of whether they try and dominate the ball or whether they try and sit back and break away. I think Rovers can adapt to most of that. And I think what I'm looking for today is just a bit of a continuation of that defensive stability that we've seen. Because I think what we've discovered is that if you do have that defensive stability, that you can get away with murder in this league. Because some clubs don't take their chances. And if you only give them 2 or 3 a game, and sometimes they don't take any of them. So that's our job for today. And, you know, and you look at that squad, the 7th most shots and the 18th most goals, something like that. Well, that just shows you, doesn't it, that they've got a conversion issue. So let's hope that that continues today.
And I think that conversion issue is the thing that Charlie Austin has helped them resolve in the recent games. So I think you're right, Alex. We're going to have to be defensively tight today. You know, this is a side, despite being 17th, despite that home form, you know, will be comfortable in possession, will create some chances. So absolutely absolutely, we've got to be on it defensively today. So, Tom, I'll just come to you really quickly. We're going to just run through our predicted 11s. So we'll start with yours, if I can, just before the actual team news lands. So I'll just give you the chance to go with yours first so that you can run the ticker for us when the team news does drop. Looking at your side, you've gone for Bradley Dack in midfield. Just talk us through that.
I just think we need to really take the game to them. I think it is quite attacking when I look at it. It's because it is an attacking side, that's why. I just think, yeah, Dak can come in. He's got 90 minutes under his belt in the under-23s recently. I thought he played quite well. I think he's been playing quite well, so he's been coming off the bench. Let's throw him in again in a game where hopefully he can make more of an impact from the start, unlike he did against, was it Stoke maybe, I think it was, and see what he can do. Take the game to them with two attacking-minded midfielders. Let Travis just marshal that midfield, and try and score a few goals today. It's been a while. We've got a lot of 1-0s recently when we've been winning, and they're fantastic. I'll take them any day of the week, but I'd just like us to not have a game where, come the 90th minute, we're sat there, squeaky bum time, just praying that we aren't broken down.
Yeah. So Tom will run the ticker for the team news when it does drop. So we'll move on to Ollie's side here, which Tom will bring up for us in a moment. So Ollie, you've gone for Jacob Davenport, who was really unlucky to miss the last game with an injury. So talk to us about why you've gone for Davenport today rather than Bradley Dack.
Yeah, I like to think. I perhaps think Davenport, if he hadn't had that hamstring niggle, probably would have started instead of Downing last week. So I think that unlucky for him. I think he is fit and he's in the squad. So I think same team I would have started last week. I've put the same team out again. A lot of that's down to some consistency, but I also think, we are away from home. Why wouldn't I start Dak? I think even Mowbray's commented, I think Travis's kind of numbers in training, I think he feels he's back up to the fitness levels he was showing through the summer. And I think Travis is very much a 90-minute player again for us at this level. I don't think Dak is. That's not to say why start him and bring him off after an hour, 70 minutes, because you've got 5 subs. But I just think whether we've been eked our way through January and got some wins, but we are now in good form. There should be some good confidence in the squad, and I think consistency is that's what I'm going for really, is mainly around consistency. But I do think we've got with Cher and Austin, we do need to provide some good protection to our back four. I think, we were just saying earlier in the stream, I think Alex was saying the one really nice thing is we've stopped giving sides goals. I think you can go back through so many goals we've conceded this season, and we could have done much better defensively. I've got no issue if teams score a really good goal against us because they've carved us open, or fine, you take it on the chin. They deserve to score, but we've given away so many easy goals, and we've stopped doing that, and you start winning games 1-0. So I think, I'm just mindful that not to be overly defensive in the slightest. I think it's an attacking formation, it's an attacking system, and we are going to attack today. And I think sometimes, I actually think when Davenport has played, he's often actually the anchor. So you may actually see, if he is playing today, that actually it's Travis is more box to box and supporting Rothwell when he's gone forward, and it'd be Davenport that's going to be sitting and screening. And I think, and an important game for Douglas as well. That was another player I was going to mention, that Bell's back fit again, and we've now got Harry Pickering. I think, the channel's done a really good video on Pickering about what he's going to bring to the side, and I've been critical of Douglas, mainly defensively, but he's done really well in the last few games. He got a run in the side because of Bell being injured, but we've now got 3 players that can play in that position and some good healthy competition. I think it's a really good opportunity for him to demonstrate why he came so highly regarded because of what he did at Wolves and Leeds, and we're starting to see, we're starting to see that type of player, and long may it continue. But hopefully, we see a really good continued performance from him because he knows we've got 2 players waiting in the wings for his spot in the side.
So, Alex, I'm going to give you the opportunity to react to the team news first because it has now landed whilst Ollie was talking there. So there are 3 changes for Rovers. Douglas, Downing and Brereton dropping out of the side. Bell, Davenport and Gallagher all coming in. So there was that rumour, or it wasn't a rumour, Douglas has had a child. So the rumour was going around that he wouldn't play. So he's not playing. It is Amari Bell. Gallagher moving into the front 3 in place of Ben Brereton, and Jacob Davenport back from injury. So, Alex, initial reactions to Rovers' actual side today, if we just want to take off Ollie's preferred 11, Tom.
My initial reaction to that team is it's very possible I would have picked, considering that one of the 3 changes was enforced with the personal circumstances surrounding Douglas's absence, so that can't be helped. And I wish his wife and young child all the best, and hope that he's back for the next game. I think family comes first. I think we'd all agree with that. So I don't really have any issues whatsoever with that. Then you look at the other 2 changes. Well, I think certainly Downing, as we've seen, is just a model pro. But, at the age that he's at, he can't really play successive games, certainly from the start. And I think Davenport coming back in makes a lot of sense, considering how well he's played when he's been in the team. And I think we've gone over this before. So Davenport coming back in certainly isn't, a problem or issue for me. I think the most interesting thing is Gallagher coming back in for Brereton. Now, I think the main rationale that Mowbray probably has is that he provided the goal on Saturday against Luton, the assist for the goal. The one thing I'm concerned about, and I'd be interested to hear you guys' opinion on this, is that I think the problems with Gallagher and Brereton have often been of Mowbray's own making, in the sense that he's often played them for 1 or 2 games, then taken them out, then played them again and taken them out. He's never really given them a consistent run in the team. And I could probably say that for Gallagher as well as Brereton. That's not a criticism of, either of those players. I just don't think either of those players have properly had a real run in the side consistently like other players have. And I just don't know how you can expect Gallagher to play at his best level if he's coming in for 2 games, then going out again, then being sub for 3 games, then coming back in again. I think I mentioned this last week, we're in a bit of a cycle with Gallagher again and again and again, where we can't work out whether he's an impact player, whether he's a starter or not. And I think Mowbray is kind of stuck in that rut a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes today. He may have thought that he wanted a bit of an outlet at the top of the pitch, going a bit more direct. But again, I think that we were playing on a bit of a better pitch today than the Ewood pitch. So I wouldn't think that would apply. So yeah, I think it's certainly an interesting team. It's certainly not far away from the team I would have picked. So it's not something that I'm particularly upset or angry about by any means. But I just think sometimes there can be a bit too much tinkering with the front 3 when it's maybe not necessary.
Yeah, so Tom, before I come to you, we'll just run through the comments, but I'll just run through the substitutes as well. So subs today, Pairs, Harwood Bellis, the new signing, is on the bench. Elliot Bennett, Downing, Buckley, Bradley Dack, Holtby, Dolan and Brereton. So another strong bench for Rovers. I'll just get some comments and reaction from our viewers. Scotty 2706, not a bad side. Stephen Mason, oh no, Galley. Luke Kimberley, Gallagher has had a lot of joy against QPR in the past. Ellis Dixon, he hasn't put the best team out in my opinion. Callum, interesting with Galley starting. Let's hope he has a good game. Ethan James, wouldn't mind seeing Gallagher through the centre and Armour and Elliott either side of him playing off him. The QPR defence doesn't have much pace. Michael Pearson, Gallagher has deserved his start, had a real impact recently. Leap year man, risky to play Davenport straight after his injury, albeit minor. Then have we got any other comments? Ross Gibson would like to see Dolan start today. Dolan's Jack Hamer making the point. Some physicality, thinking Gallagher could help from Sepke, especially if QPR are playing back. Dashcam links Dolan as of now is effective as an impact sub, but he should be given the chance to play as a starter. Rovers
Is Ryan gone? I'm going to assume he has. So just for now, I'm going to take over presenting duties. 1 second. Okay, so look at those comments there on the system. 1 second.
Ryan will be back soon. We've
Yeah, Ryan, I do apologise for the issues in this stream. I believe he has come back. 1 second. Is he there? He is there.
we temporarily rebranded as the 1875 podcast.
Yeah, it was a temporary 1875 podcast thingy. Live streaming, not my thing. Sorry, Ryan, you're back. Let's go.
It's just typical, isn't it? The day we say we're doing a watch along, and it's like the internet's just like, no, you're not. So
as Luke said, I was the vice. I did take charge, just not very well. I was just a bit. Is he there? Is it my internet? But alas, it was yours when I saw the comments. But you're back.
No, I am back. So Tom, I was going to come to you now. Ran through those subs. So Gallagher is an interesting one. So when I spoke to Charlie yesterday, he did say that back three for QPR have actually been quite physical and quite solid this season, albeit with not a lot of pace. Do you think that that's been in Mowbray's mind today, just to get Gallagher in there to maybe just get into him a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. And we saw his qualities with that when we beat Luton last week. Obviously, that header across the goal for Armstrong's goal. He does offer that physicality. He offers a different kind of physicality as well to that of Brereton. Whilst Brereton's hold-up play is quite good, I think Gallagher offers that in a different way. We've spoke quite a lot about he doesn't necessarily win as many headers as he should, but I think that a big part of that is the fact that he sort of jumps into players, jumps into defenders. He's not necessarily trying to win the flick on. I think he's trying to put the defender off and let the ball bounce through. And I think that's what he offers. And if, like you say, the QPR defence offer that physical side, then it's the sort of thing where Gallagher can come in and just rough them up a bit. Rather than getting the ball into feet, he can come in, give him a nudge, shoulder him, little elbow. You know, it's the dark arts that so many people tend to love. And I think he can offer that. And if QPR are going to bring that physicality, I can understand why Mowbray looks towards Gallagher to say, yeah, I'm going to combat it with you.
Definitely. I'm just looking in the comments as well. So, Tom, it looks like you handled things like a Model Pro whilst my internet booted me out. So I can see a lot of love for your vice chair handling there. So good work, Tom. Ollie, another interesting one for me today is Bell and Branthwaite and how they're going to pair up. So Barry Douglas is an experienced pro at championship level and has probably helped out Jared Branthwaite actually in these recent games. Probably a lot of talking, a lot of guiding, a lot of coaching. So that's probably one to watch today, isn't it, today? Just to see what type of performance we get out of Branthwaite when he's got someone like Amari Bell next to him who might not be as vocal, obviously isn't as experienced. So have you got any concerns about that left-hand side today?
Not overly. I mean, I'm someone that would always want all of our players to do well and not, Bell has, quite rightly had a hard time at times. No, not too bad. I mean, he's had long enough in the championship to, I think you can make a case to say that when defensively Bell was sort of providing perhaps more solidity when we've had Bell and Douglas both in the squad, that I think Douglas was showing to be a little bit of a liability defensively, and the performances the games where Bell was playing, I think he looked okay defensively. I think more of his issue has been having that confidence to believe in his kind of the forward game and actually having the courage to sort of play forward passes and not just playing it back to Branthwaite or playing it into Travis or Davenport because it's safer, or not driving forward the way 𝐼𝐕𝐈𝐃 does. I think if you look at something like the Middlesbrough game, where Branthwaite, had to deal with the injury that he caused, but he's got Lenihan on the other side of him, who I think is clearly very vocal and talking to him. I think he showed to go through adversity and against a really good quality side that managed by a manager that really does know the dark arts of football, that he came through that really well, even though he was rattled slightly with that challenge. And then Luton equally offer that kind of physicality, and I think he's shown enough to say you can trust this guy defensively. And I do agree with you. I do think Bell is not going to be particularly vocal. The only thing that would bother me is if those kind of, we often play it out, and if, when it goes to 𝐼𝐈𝐃, he's sort of less likely to be cutting it back to Lenihan. He might be kind of looking forward down the line for Elliott, or, a 1-2 with Rothwell and to get forward. My biggest worry would actually be Bell constantly choosing to play it back to Branthwaite and leaving him with, it's his first time playing in the Championship, and if he's constantly being put on the ball and then having to kind of make decisions, and he's got, say, Austin closing him down, that would worry me as a scenario. Whereas Douglas gets the ball at his feet and he's clipping cute balls down into the channel to a Gallagher, or looking for Rothwell or pinging it crossfield to 𝐼𝐈𝐃, and we don't get that from Bell necessarily. And no, I think you're right to raise it. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. I don't want to assume that it's going to be a problem, because actually this season Bell's been fine when he's played, more than fine. And hopefully on the stream after the game, you're not sat here saying, that was a problem, and we had a weak spot down that side. Hopefully not.
Just a couple of things just to update on then. So Rich Sharp has just tweeted that it's potentially the box formation for Rovers today. So Travis and Davenport as the holders, Rothwell and Elliott in front of that, and then Gallagher and Armstrong in front of that. So Rich has just tweeted that. And then just to run through the QPR side, Dieng in goal, then the back five of Kane, Dickie, Cameron, Barbe and Wallace, Ball and Johansson as the two holders with Elias Chair, and then they've actually gone for Lyndon Dykes over Macaulay Bonne up front with Charlie Austin there as well. So Rovers fans, we will be ending this stream in about 5 minutes time, so please get your score predictions in the meantime, and we will run through those before we finish. So Alex, I'm going to start with you. You've seen the Rovers side, we've previewed QPR and their recent home form versus their, recent better form. How are you thinking the game's going to go? What do you think the score will be?
I think there's a really interesting stat that Rovers haven't won an away game when we've not kept a clean sheet. All of our 5 away wins, we've kept a clean sheet. And I think that's due to change. And it's quite unusual for us. So I think with everything I've heard and everything we've spoken about, I'll probably go with a 2-1 Rovers win. I think QPR are playing better than they have been at points this season, so I think that they will definitely get a goal. But I think Rovers haven't been prolific of late, but I fancy that to maybe change today. I think we're due to score 2 or 3 goals, so I'll go with a 2-1 win today.
2-1 Rovers from Alad's iPad. Tom, what is your prediction?
I think I'm similar to Alex. I fancy us to score a few today. Don't know why, just do. So I'm going to go 3-0 Rovers. Just think we've got something about us. I think it's a strong side. You look at the bench, it's a strong bench. We've got Brereton and Dag to call upon. So I'm confident that if it doesn't go right with the starting 11, we've always got people to turn to, and given our defensive form at the moment, confident we can get a shutout.
Excellent. And Tom, I'm just going to give you your signal when we do run through these comments in a moment. We'll be starting with Mr. Concept, who was first in the comments, ready for you to rattle through them. But before we do that, Ollie, your score prediction?
Yeah, like the other guys, I think we'll win. I think last season it was a very, very bad day when we lost at QPR. We were really, really poor. But actually, I think otherwise, I think we generally have quite a good record against them, and I think they're one of those teams that I actually think, whether it's home or away, I think Alex was talking about how they're sort of aspects of naivety. I think they're the type of side that we suit really well. Like some of these other middling championship teams they're not here to kind of low block and disrupt how we want to play, and it's not a Norwich or a Swansea where they're just going to be better than we are. I think QPR will be more open, even if they do try and sit deep and counter-attack. I think it's the type of side that we suit playing, and we'll be on a better pitch. And yeah, I think we've been a bit goal shy, despite all of the attacking riches. I think, I can see a scoring today, so I'd go 3-1. I think 3-1. I think we'll win, but there may be a little bit of a Austin sting at some point. I'm not sure we'll get another clean sheet.
Just as you said about sides like QPR suiting Rovers, I did just look on the head-to-head record between Rovers and QPR, and it's quite remarkable, actually. It's just 1 defeat in 18 games in all competitions, home and
why have you said that, Ryan? Why have you said that?
Hey, I've been sat on here talking about our record at St Andrews and the fact that we can't beat Luton in 40 years. Don't you worry. It means nothing, Alex. It means nothing.
You reverse jinxed it.
Before we do the viewers' score prediction, I'm also feeling quite confident today. I like that box formation. I like the options that we've got on the pitch. And like Tom, I think we've got some great options off the bench to change it up again as well. I've got a slight little niggle about Bell and Branthwaite. Branthwaite is 18 years old, and Bell isn't going to provide that experienced head at left back. So that's just a slight concern for me. But I think Rovers have got enough in their locker to go and win this game. So I'm also saying 2-1, and also would not surprise me if Charlie Austin scored as well. So 2-1 from me as well. So, Tom, we said that Mr. Concept was first, and there's been loads of predictions since there. So I'm going to rattle through these before we finish. Mr. Concept says 3-0 Rovers, as does Manhattan Poet. Daniel Seaward, 3-0 Galley 2 Armour 1. RJC, 2-1 Rovers. Ethan James, 3-1 Rovers. John Browning, 3-1 Rovers. Callum Robinson, 1-1. Luke Howard, 4-0 Rovers. Paddy H, 2-1 Rovers. Parky going for a 5-0 Rovers. Michael Pearson, 2-0 Rovers. Obviously, the first goal is everything, as ever with Rovers. Ollie James, 2-0 Armour. And Kaminsky, he's gone for further down the comments. Kevin Bradshaw, 3-1 Rovers. Callum, I'm basing 1-1 on our allergic reaction to the playoff places. Yeah, I can see your logic there, Callum. Hopefully we can change that. Stand and Stare's gone 3-1 Rovers. El Scotty has found some optimism after some initial nervousness and gone 1-0 Rovers. Autumn Penkridge, 2-1 Rovers. Luke Howard, 4-0 Rovers. Iqbal has gone a 9-0 Rovers win. So that is definitely the highest prediction that we've had so far. Leap Year Man, Heart says 3-1 Rovers. Head says 1-1, but would love to see us score a few. We are due. Ollie Pott, 2-1 Rovers. Armour, Dak off the bench, and Austin. Jack Wilson, 2-0. Stand and Stare. Defence need to settle quickly, but still sticking with 3-1. Callum, 3-1 Rovers. Alexander Haben, 2-1 Rovers. Harry BRFC, 3-0 Rovers. Jack Hamer, 2-1 Rovers. And Ellis Dixon. Ryan, you just had to say that. Yes, I did, because I don't care. I said it. So there we go. So thank you, Tom, for rattling through all of those predictions. So just a reminder to Rovers fans, despite my internet woes, I'm going to go and give it the proverbial kick up the arse. Do join Luke, Kimberly and myself for a live watch along. We'll be starting at about 2:45. We'll be streaming the game on a laptop next to us. So we'll figure out how we get the syncing issues going so that you can join our reactions live. We'll see what goes on. If you've liked what you've seen from Rovers Chat today and you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, we are Rovers Chat on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty of video content coming your way over the next few weeks. If you are not following us on Twitter, we are Rovers_chat on Twitter as well. So before we finish, I will just say goodbye to the panel, i.e. Handforth Parish Council. So Ollie, have you assumed the role of clerk today? What have you been doing?
Nothing. No, nothing at all. But no, come on, we can win today. It's good. It's good.
Aled, you have been very good as a vice chair. Aled's iPad. Thank you for joining us, Alex.
No problem, Ryan. And all I would say before we go is just a little shameless plug of the 1875 podcast. Tom, Ollie, and I both, or all of us, decided to record an episode this morning, so that should be out somewhere this week. And I think we've lost Ryan once again.
Hopefully Ryan's internet is able to play that because he has disappeared again. So there's no point in bringing him back in. I'll take charge again because I am the vice chair. Obviously, thank you for tuning into this live stream. As Ryan said, you're the ones that make it all worthwhile at the end of the day. We do this because we enjoy listening to you. With that being said, I'll end the live stream here. Thanks for listening. Thanks to everyone for joining us. You're all stars.
Hi, I'm Craig Conway, and you can check out my chat with the 1875 podcast on Monday, the 8th of February at 5 p.m.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 𝐂𝐎𝐻𝑒𝐿𝐿.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.